Hello, everyone. This is Megan,
And this is Alana.
and welcome to Tea Time Crimes. Hello, how are you doing today?
Hi, how's everybody?
We are out of isolation over here, so that's nice.
Yay!
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. COVID's taking its time though for full recovery. Holy moly! But
Yeah, you got it rough.
we're out of isolation, so that is a big plus. And how are you doing over there?
Pretty good. We have a new visitor in the house, and I wouldn't say that he's welcome. Okay.
Uh-oh. What is it?
So we're trying to go to sleep last night, and then I think it's a cricket, full blast. I've named him Cedric. I think he's in the air vents.
Oh.
So it's going to be hard to get. And it's not one of those like little soft crickets. Like we've had some of those before. That's okay. It is loud. And it was like, we could not drown it out. So I just had to go through a little process of acceptance and just pretend it's a nice cricket sound in the canal.
Did it work? Did that work?
Eventually, I went back to sleep. But at one point in the middle of the night, I went and hunted for it.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
And I determined where it was, but I couldn't do anything about it because it was like high up behind a vent. And I was like, I tapped at it and then it stopped. And then I got into bed and it started again. Yeah. Damn you, Cedric.
The second you like turn the light off or lay down, they're like, we good? Tweet, tweet, tweet.
Just a little asshole.
Yikes.
But
oh my gosh.
Crickets are cute.
Poor cricket's stuck in an air vent. We need an emergency rescue team.
I know. If I did find it, I wouldn't kill it. I'd put it outside and then the chickens would probably eat it. But, you know,
it's one way to go.
Life.
Smushed or pecked to death, Cedric? You decide. This will be we'll have to do a feature story on this true crime unfolding in front of us.
Yeah, there you go. I'll record myself like Only Murders in the Building as I'm going through it. God, I love that show so much. I just do.
I love that you love that show. It's so out of your normal.
I know, but they're so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Martin and Martin Short are natural pairs. So, and I like Selena Gomez now.
I know.
Never really got to know her before.
You say that like you worked together previously on some projects and you just didn't really get a chance to hang out.
Yeah, I was just so busy, you know?
Yeah, you know how it is. Well, I'm glad you two are getting close. Maybe Selena can be a guest star sometime. You reach out to her with your connections. All right. Nothing's going to live up to last week's tea review because it's the first time you've had both thumbs in the mix and both of them were thrusting, heaven forbid.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be tough.
I mean, I just want to set expectations. The best you can hope for this week is just a single thumb up, you know? Let's not get crazy.
And especially with this one.
This
she's already more your style.
My style?
Yeah. So I knew the name of this person that you're covering. I didn't look into it, but I knew like it was old timey. Yeah. So I picked Lady Grey Black Tea. And
I do love Lady
like
Grey.
Earl Grey.
Yeah.
So it's, you know what? I do have a bone to pick with this description. I'll go for it first.
All right.
Uniquely ours, delight in the refreshing citrus fruit flavors of this one-of-a-kind tea. What would you say is the problem in that description? I'll tell you what the problem is.
Okay.
They used uniquely ours and one-of-a-kind tea, which is essentially saying the same thing. You only have a certain amount of space. Put something else unique and not the same thing. Like maybe a better description.
Yikes. I didn't know you were going to go grammar crazy. I should have guessed that. I thought it was going to be something about how compared it to a lady and you didn't like the comparison.
I wish they did. Go for it. But, they said the same thing twice. in a limited amount of space. Bury it up.
Yikes. All right. Well,
That's how I feel.
yeah, we felt passionate
Okay.
about that. All right. I drink Lady Grey. I like it.
Yeah, I know you do.
I'll give it 2 thumbs up. My palate's not as discerning as our tea critic, though.
Oh, stop.
All right, go ahead.
This cute little cup my mom brought.
It's full of cute doggies, yes.
It is a nice tea, though.
Mhm.
It's Earl and Lady Grey are always very smooth. It goes down smooth. It doesn't need a lot of milk because it doesn't have as much body as a normal like English breakfast, right? It's a delicate tea.
Mhm.
And so you just need a splash of milk and a smooth sip, and you just do it slow and you're good. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it actually.
That's one way to do it. I mean, I pour in like a gallon of milk. But,
And get it really creamy.
Yeah.
Not like your dad who uses half and half.
Oh, actually, yes, it is half and
a
half.
gallon of it.
It's a genetic trait.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Roger Jr.
Yeah. Call me RJ. You'll be getting
That's
some
amazing.
lunch meat in the mail any day now.
Yeah, so this is a thumbs up for sure. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. It's a comfortable classic.
It is. That's a great way to put it.
Thank you.
They just need to work on their description.
Well, why don't you write them a new one and shoot it over to their copywriting team? I'm sure they'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean,
help.
it's not a big company like Twinnings or anything like that. Is that how you say it, or is it Twinings?
I don't know, but that laugh sounded psychotic. I'm scared.
Twinnings. I'll never know. I'll probably look it up.
I'll never know. Well, there's no way to solve this mystery. Just probably be featured on Unsolved Mysteries soon. It's over.
Probably. Yeah.
All right. Well, you've got a nice solid tea for today. And like you said, this is
comfortable classic.
Yeah, this is a story recommendation. And it's a story recommendation from a person I don't know, which is exciting. Because
yeah, thank you for sending it in. We want to have more of that.
Yes, that means people that aren't our family are listening. That's always exciting. So send in more, and I will do my best to cover them. And I think this one's pretty violent, but I think that the time will make it okay for you because we're really
Will
going
I be
back.
rooting for the violence?
What's that?
Will I be rooting for the violence?
Absolutely not.
Okay, got it.
But we're going so far back in our time machine that you usually are okay. I'll do my best.
Lady Grey, let's go.
Here we grab on your Lady Grey, girl. We are going to talk about Elizabeth Bathory. She was born August 7th, 1560.
Bro, that's a long time ago.
This is the farthest we've ever gone.
Wow.
And she was born to a family that was Protestant nobility in Hungary. By the end of her life, she would be known as the Blood Countess.
Ooh.
Yeah. And she got that name because it was said that she tortured and murdered as many as 650 girls.
Oh, that's not cool.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Buckle up. But there's a lot to unpack here. There is almost no documentation. So a lot of this is rumors, theories, ideas. It's not like they open a history book and she's in there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is pieced together based off of
fun.
years of hearsay and what documents they could find.
Okay. And we're set in Hungary, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't really know much about.
Transylvania, actually.
Is that in Hungary? No.
It was at the time. It's not now.
Interesting.
I believe. I'm sorry if I'm wrong on that, but I think. So what we do know for sure is that Elizabeth was from a well-to-do family, and her family ruled Transylvania, and her uncle was the king of Poland. So she's in the big leagues.
Powerful family.
Yeah, exactly. But Elizabeth's childhood maybe laying the groundwork for some of her future escapades. Okay. So she was born in 1560, but just to give you a picture of the climate, in 1514, conditions were so terrible for the peasants that they organized a revolution against the crown.
Oh.
It did not end well for the peasants.
Oh.
Yeah. The leader of the revolution was placed on an iron throne that they heated with coals.
Oh.
And then they heated an iron crown and placed it on his head before executing him.
That's some Game of Thrones shit, man. Holy shit. I mean, that's probably where the inspiration comes. I guess history is cruel.
I mean, what amazes me, like people's torture techniques.
Really creative, right?
Yes. And they're like,
I mean,
obviously,
there's no television, I guess.
I don't know how that helps, but like I think like your first goal for torture is inflict pain, check. But then there's always this other level of just evil where it's like, oh, you want to be the king? Cool. I'm going to burn you into a throne and burn a crown onto your head while all your followers watch you die.
The symbolism. It's the symbolism. And maybe they want to be remembered by like it's a legacy thing.
Oh, it's nasty. If I was a ruler in that time, I would absolutely have to have a team. I would have to torture workshop. I would not be able to think of anything this cool.
Yeah, I mean, usually I feel like
not that it's cool. Like that's a terrible word to say it. But I would not be able to think of anything this terrible. I would be like, I'd be like, how about we put a pebble in his shoe for like the rest of his life? How's that sound, everybody?
I mean, that's pretty terrible.
I think so. But there'd be somebody like a Sedgwick would say, Your Majesty, that's not even close to cruel enough. We need to cut things off. And I'd be like, but have you had a pebble in your shoe? It's pretty awful. I would be so terrible at it. I would be assassinated quickly and moved down.
That's amazing.
I mean, you only have two things you ever want to do. You either want to destroy somebody via the soft spot of their body, or you want them to stub their toe perpetually. Those are your only two punishments.
Correct. I mean, soft parts can be different soft parts depending on the crime.
Gross. Okay. So this is the kind of just the vibe.
Okay, got it. Appreciate the creativity and the symbolism, but
terrible.
Peasants are people too.
It's terrible. Terrible stuff is going on, and peasants have no chance.
Yeah.
And people like Elizabeth's family are ruling over them. So when she is born, right, into this kind of family, she watches her own family continue to live like this. So it is commonplace to discipline, air quotes, because discipline is a generous term for what's happening, the servants, right, by means of torture. Cruel punishments.
So she's taking notes early.
Yeah, and she's seeing this, and it's normal, right? It's a normal part of her of life. Like, that's what you do. Like, well,
that's how you
Betty dropped a plate,
in line.
So we're in trouble. I'm sure nobody was named Betty. And then she was said to witness terrible things. So here's the famous story that gets passed around. She watched her father torture a man, and then he was sewn into a horse and left to die. And she was 6 and watching gleefully, giggling in the corner, apparently.
What happened to the horse?
Well, they both died.
Ugh, poor horse. I mean, poor person too, but horses have less of a choice.
I don't know that the man's signed a document for this. I think we can equally be upset for both of them.
Yeah, correct. Okay. I mean, slightly more for the horse, but yes, I agree.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And then at the end of the 1500s, Hungary was invaded by the Ottoman Empire, so they were at war into the early 1600s. So Elizabeth's living in this violent time.
Wow.
And it's normal.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. She also suffers from health problems and a bad temper. Now, her bad temper, I don't know if she had some emotional problems. I mean, nature and nurture are just intertwined in this one. If she had emotional problems as well, I'm sure she was spoiled as all get out. I'm sure whatever she wanted, she got, right? So she's throwing tantrums and tempers and fits of rage, but she also has seizures.
Oh.
So epilepsy at that time, I mean, it takes a long time for people to understand epilepsy. People always think the person was possessed or the person was faking it.
Yeah, I was worried that could be the demon thing.
Yeah, and think of how weird something like epilepsy would be in the 1500s. A person's totally fine. They just fall to the ground, convulse, and then they wake up. They're dazed, but they're still themselves. I mean, what is happening?
You can see that would not go well.
It took forever to truly understand epilepsy and what it was, and it was a neurological disorder. So the treatment that Elizabeth was said to receive for her epilepsy was they would take the blood of a non-epileptic person and rub it on her gums,
Ew.
which does not help in her creation of her nickname, the Blood Countess, later on. The other possible cure was to take the skull, not sure how fresh it had to be, of a non-epileptic and pulverize a piece of the bone and use it as a medicine.
Pass.
Medical advancements happening all over the place.
Yeah, let's be thankful for modern medicine. Good Lord.
So you add all this to a pretty solid, documented mental illness family history and just a touch of inbreeding, and you're off to the races.
Oh,
like,
God.
The royalty was tight-knit back in the day.
Yeah, no shit.
So by the time Elizabeth is 11, she's betrothed. I hate that word. Ugh. To, apologies for this name, but to a count, Ferrings.
Dracula! Sorry. Okay, keep going.
Nadesty. Ferrings, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Ferrings?
So he's a big deal too.
Okay.
So they're like, this is like a really good match in all
Good
ways.
job.
They're just, they're a hot ticket. They'd have a celebrity name in today's standards.
It'd be like a celebrity wedding. Like they'd film it.
Yeah.
Like they do with the Queen.
So once they're engaged, which I know 11 seems young, but she's probably outlived half of the people in her family. Once they're engaged, Ferring's family becomes like responsible for her.
Okay.
So she actually moves to their castle.
Oh,
but
wow.
Oddly enough, nobody's really there. So Ferring's father had already passed away. And after these arrangements are made to move, his mother passes away. And then Ferring's is a boy. So he's out,
right.
gathering opportunities.
I was going to ask, how old is he at this
He's
point?
actually shockingly age appropriate. He's only a few years older than her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was worried. Like a 30-year-old with 11. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. They're 15 and 19. So, for that time, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's illegal today. But in 1560,
that's not
an improvement.
For them.
So anyway, she has to leave her family, which might not be a bad thing. You know what I mean? But she's now in this big castle with just servants and tutors. So Ferring's family gives her a really solid education. Good. And because she needs it, she needs to have it later on, which I'll get into. But she can already read and write when she gets there.
Okay.
But she also studies math. She can read and write in several languages.
Wow, I can't do that.
She's very smart. She loves biology, botany, anatomy, which comes in handy for that torture.
Mm-hmm.
She studies religion and the occult. Those are like her favorite things. So again, she's getting some torture tidbits, I feel.
I can't believe she can study that.
Yeah, she's very intelligent. She's also said to be very beautiful. She's got this pale, fair skin and this raven black hair.
And bloody gums.
Cute. Yeah, which doesn't help. Paired with the bloody gums and some other things, this is how she gets called a vampire later on.
Oh, man.
But, it's good for her that she's smart, but I believe her victims would have probably preferred if she was a dum-dum. Her intelligence doesn't help. Before she gets married, she actually is thought to have been pregnant.
By who?
I know. Gasp. So the story on this varies widely. Some people say that she actually fell in love with a peasant boy and had a relationship with him when she was about 13, which, again, I know that seems crazy, but 13 in 1560 is, you're basically 30.
Yeah.
So she was said to have an affair, become pregnant from this. There are also other stories that say she was actually raped by either a peasant boy or a noble. So they're all over the place. I don't know what is true.
Huh.
Either way, it's agreed that she more than likely did become pregnant. She gave birth to the baby. It was thought to be a girl named Anastasia.
Yeah.
And it was given up for adoption.
Wow. So who knows about it, though?
So Ferrings knows about it. And he takes care of matters. He castrates the father and throws him over the wall of the castle for the wolves to eat him.
Wow.
So problem solved.
Yep. Check.
And then he goes on to marry Elizabeth when she's 15 and he's 19. And Ferrings is making a name for himself on the battlefield. He is away all the time.
Fighting the Ottomans?
Yeah. He gets promoted to chief commander. And he goes to battle soon after they get married. So eventually, the couple will actually have 5 children, 3 of which survive into adulthood. But for the first decade of their marriage, they don't have any children because they only see each other like twice a year.
Oh, okay.
He is making a name. He becomes known as the Black Knight of Hungary.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now, the reason Elizabeth got such an extensive education is because when Ferrings is busy.
Yeah.
He can't take care of stuff back home, and Elizabeth has to run everything.
Oh, so she runs the whole household and like all the finances and stuff?
Yes, but household is not the correct term for what she's running. So if you think of household today, like if we're running a household today, we pretty much have to pay rent and mortgage and like make sure the dogs and
But she has a castle.
or the kids. She has 20 castles.
Excuse me?
They have thousands of acres of land that include towns
Whoa.
and farms and crops.
I want to
This
see
is
it.
a huge business, and she runs it all, and she runs it well. And she's only
That's amazing.
15. I mean, like she starts this when she's 15 or 16 years old. So Elizabeth is calling the shots on the kind of profits for livestock, crops, and she's in a very dangerous part of the country. So she has to also run the defense because she's at a place where you could easily be invaded.
Okay, I have to look up the Hungary's borders later.
So she's in charge.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I told you she's smart. She's not very nice, but you know. So Elizabeth and Ferrings don't see each other, but they do communicate.
Letters.
I don't know how easy it is to get a letter to the battlefield, but I guess you make it work. And nothing is mentioned on how he treats Elizabeth, but it's said that he's a pretty cruel dude in other aspects of his life. So he has a reputation on the battlefield for being ruthless and doing things like dancing with the dead bodies of his enemies.
Ew.
And then using their severed heads to play football. You know, soccer for us. Yeah. Yeah. Gross.
Wow.
More importantly, in terms of Elizabeth's story here, is that he offers Elizabeth guidance and shows her how to handle staff situations.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
So it's thought that he was the first person to really, I mean, she's seen it already.
Yeah.
But he's the first person to, like, now she's doing it with him.
Encourage her to do it.
This is how you do it. And unfortunately, she is a natural.
Oh, yeah,
and he would do things like roll up little pieces of paper doused in oil and place them between the servants' toes and then light them on fire.
Oh, my God.
And that's one of the nicest things they do. So it was also rumored that he gave Elizabeth a claw hand so she could scratch their faces if needed.
Okay.
I know. Again, this kind of severe punishment for servants is like somewhat commonplace, but the level that these two are going to is
it's all
stepping it up a notch and then just continues to escalate.
Oh, God.
So Elizabeth starts to have punishments that fit the crime to start out with. So, for example, if you make a sewing mistake, and I don't mean like you sew a sleeve to a foot, you miss a stitch, then she would do things like stab them over and over with long sewing needles while they were naked. Or stick needles under their fingernails.
Oh, my God.
And then tell the girl she could pull it out if she wanted to. And then when they pulled it out, she'd cut off their finger.
Oh.
Which can't help with the sewing, so I don't really follow the logic.
That's insane.
Oh, we're just getting started. And if they were thought to steal, then she would heat up hot coins and press them into their flesh. Now, sometimes these servants would just go back to work,
Yeah.
sans a finger. But other times they never came back.
Like they left or they were put down?
No, they were tortured to death.
Cool.
Yeah. And she actually had a torture chamber that Ferrings was said to have built for her once she kind of got the hang of things,
What a romantic gift.
Know. I think that's 10 years. That's what you get, torture chamber. So the couple were married for nearly 30 years, but eventually Ferrings passed away. Most people say in battle.
Okay, it makes sense.
And I mean, she'd been going strong this whole time. But after he died, she just unleashed.
Really?
She has a whole team of people who help her.
I was about to say, like, she should be busy running everything, right? The whole land, to be doing little minor tortures here and there.
I wouldn't call them minor.
No, I mean, like, like they take time.
Tortures?
Yeah.
Again, the fact that that's what you think of is so disturbing. Like, a good torture takes a minute. I don't know how she's fitting this into her calendar.
I don't know.
You weirdo.
But that's why she has a team.
Yeah, she's got a team. So in 1601, a woman named Anna Darvoya came to the castle, and she was close to Elizabeth in some way. I don't know if she was just a friend or an advisor, but she was said to be a witch, and not a good witch. You know, I love witches, but a bad witch.
Uh-oh.
And then here's the rest of the gang. So the rest of the gang was Alona Joe, who was the servant in charge of the children. Awesome. A servant named Dorca. Beautiful name. A washmaid named Catalin, and then a disfigured manservant who was a teenager that they called Fizco.
Okay.
Now, Anna the witch and Dorca were said to be just the cruelest, and they would kind of compete and one-up each other. I mean, Elizabeth's in the mix too, but I'm saying out of the gang.
Yeah.
And so what kinds of things are they rumored to have done, we might ask? Again, remember the creativity of the torture. I would never in a million years think of any of these things.
Okay, cool. I mean, not cool.
They would cover the victims in honey and leave them outside naked and let insects bite them.
Oh my God. I don't want to go that way.
They would take needles and drive them under their fingernails.
Okay, cool.
They would cut their faces. They would beat them with stinging nettles.
Wait.
They would...
How do you beat someone with stinging nettles?
Well, stinging nettles are like the long prickly things, and I imagine like a switch, and you would... have you ever grabbed...
Oh, they attach it to something. No, I know it's bad. But to say you're beating someone, you'd have to attach it to something hard.
I guess. I mean, you're whipping them with it.
Because otherwise you're just getting like a little...
You look like you're conducting the orchestra.
Like they're feathering you with nettles.
They're not massaging them. They're beating them. And then the nettles like burrow under your skin.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, they take big bites of the girl's flesh.
Who?
Elizabeth. She loves a bite.
They bite.
Mm-hmm.
They bite. That's
Elizabeth
disgusting.
Bites like the flesh off of these people.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
They burn the flesh. They use pincers to rip off the flesh.
Oh.
They rip out organs.
Oh
they
God.
Even possibly force some of the victims to eat parts of their own body.
God, I'm thinking of so many TV shows right now.
They make the girl stand naked in the cold while pouring freezing water over them until they are literally frozen into the ground.
Wow.
There's the biggest rumor about Elizabeth and why she got the Blood Countess name is because it was said that she would bathe in the blood of her victims, I assume virgins, because that's always the way, for skincare to rejuvenate her youth.
No.
But that one is thought pretty widely to be untrue because that one was never mentioned originally. It wasn't mentioned till years later, and they thought that it just kind of evolved based off all of the horror. But none of the servants ever testified that they had to draw a bath of blood, and the servants actually testified that they always had to clean up blood rather than the other way. So that one's thought to not be true. And if Elizabeth was too tired to, make it all the way down to the dungeon, she'd just have one of her people bring a girl up and she'd just bite her from the bed.
That's weird.
I think all of this is weird.
I mean, yeah, but that's another level.
She also had torture devices, so things that would shoot blades, cages where she'd hang naked girls and slowly spear them to death.
Oh my God.
And she's very temperamental. So sometimes she would kill instantly if she was very angry. Yeah. And then other times it would be very slow.
Tactic, piss her off. So you die quick.
Yeah. You'd
just bait her.
You'd probably be gone real quick.
Yeah.
I'd be the one stuck in the dang cage. I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I'll do better. Man, I'm always worse off in these scenarios back in the day. So, like how this is evolving is it just becomes this experimentation, and they just get
This is
worse and worse and
frightening.
worse and worse.
Oh.
And you have to like keep to get the same thrill. She has to keep escalating. And
Oh God.
looking back, people now believe that she was a sexual sadist and she got just a true thrill from it.
Gross. I mean, you have to like the biting. I can't get over the biting part. Like, okay, there's one thing to torture someone, but that is another level. You're using your body like in your mouth to do that.
And
That's not.
She bit all over.
Ew, ew, ew.
So which one would you pick if you were the victim?
I would pick either cutting the face or burns.
Really? I think I'd just want to be frozen outside and just be
I
part
thought
of the
about
land.
that too. I thought about that too because you'd lose feeling pretty quick, but I don't want to die naked.
I mean, who cares at that point? I think all of her victims
like
die naked.
Shame.
FYI. That was like a big thing. I think like you enter the torture chamber and you're immediately stripped down. It seems. Ugh. Everybody's naked in there.
I'd pee on them.
That would.
It's my weapon.
Go. You're done. You're done for. That's your tactic anyway. It's working great for you. So, I mean, I know it's like we're so removed from it because it's so long ago, but these were actual women. And they're young. They're young girls.
It's really messed up.
To young women. These are terrible, disgusting things that are happening to these women. And because they are peasants, she's doing
they're
this
in servitude, basically.
For years.
Oh.
It's not until 1602 that anybody even dares to say anything. And a priest actually writes a letter to the powers that be and says, hey.
Oh, good.
Something is going on over there because I have to always go out there for funerals.
Oh, my God.
And I'm hearing terrible, horrible rumors about secret torture chambers and poor treatment, and I want you to look into it. You know what they say? Well, first, Elizabeth says, slow your roll. It's just cholera. It happens. So get over it.
Let's look at the victims there, bub.
Yeah, take one look at any of the bodies, and you'll know that it's not cholera. And then the powers that be tell the priest, hey, this isn't really your business. If this is true, and there are girls missing like this, then the families of the missing girls need to come forward and tell the appropriate person.
Yeah, and then they're going to all get killed.
Well, do you know who the appropriate person to tell was?
Her.
Yeah. So what are you going to do?
We need another peasant rebellion that goes better. They need better leadership.
Yeah. So the community, they know about it too, and it's terrifying, but what are they going to do?
Because I'm trying to think, as a peasant back then, peasant, serf, like you're basically a servant. You're born to what you got. You can't just like pick up your bags and go somewhere. Like you belong to the nobles, right? To the lord.
She rules over where they are.
Yeah.
So
they can't leave.
And honestly, getting picked to work at the castle is an honorable position.
But would they still want it because all these things happen? Like, wouldn't you want to work in the fields maybe?
I'm saying like when it started out, people were probably excitedly.
Oh, sure, yeah. Like working in the house is a big deal. Yeah.
And then eventually, this is so sad. A lot of people, there's nothing they could do. And a lot of families were said to just kind of accept it and basically just sell their children to Elizabeth because she'd picked them, and at least they would get money to possibly help the rest of their family, because honestly, that child probably was going to not survive anyway in the conditions that they were living in.
God, that's really terrible.
It's awful. So here's what happened. Here's her unraveling. So she's doing this to her servants, apparently. Again, all this is just allegedly. But it's hard to find good help. And she starts to realize, like,
especially when you kill them all.
It's a real drain if I keep killing all my servants and I have to train new ones. Ugh. So
God.
I know. So she starts like branching out and just getting peasants and also having girl catchers, a little network she had of people go get other girls for her.
No.
And I know the priest said he was there for funerals, but she seems pretty lax on the burial. There's just graves all over. Like she doesn't really care. Garden, rivers, sometimes just thrown over the wall.
Can you think how haunted this place is?
I
Like, I
know.
wonder if
It's still
it's here
standing.
today.
It
Oh, no.
is.
No, 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 no.
I mean, I
That
don't
is some
think
bad
it's.
juju.
I mean, it looks pretty. I don't think you could actually. There aren't like you can't. It's not a bed and breakfast, but there's still some of
Wow.
the ruins left. So
Ugh.
it's not until December of 1610 that an investigation actually starts because Elizabeth changes her tactic. She doesn't want to
Uh-oh.
kill the servants anymore. And another witch advisor lets her know, hey, if you start killing people who are of a higher class, you'll attract more money. Solid theory. So she,
What?
so she decides to start killing noble women instead of peasants.
Okay, so that's where she does wrong.
And she is bold about it. She opens a finishing school in the castle and then charges the noble parents to send their girls there.
No.
So she's making money and then getting her torture supply. Ew.
God.
Now, the problem is once these girls go missing, these parents can actually go to somebody above Elizabeth.
Okay, yep.
And they do. And they start complaining immediately. And I mean, these are noble women. Also, there's a rumor that there was a very talented soprano singer who was a noble, and Elizabeth invited her to the castle to
No,
sing.
no, no.
And she was so nervous, the singer, that she had a bad performance. And then Elizabeth, no one ever saw her again. And so that
Whatever
woman
she
caused
did
a
to
lot
her was
of
probably something
questions.
really bad.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So the parents like bring up questions, and Elizabeth says, oh, yeah, I can explain this. One of your girls went nuts and killed all the others. It was a sad day.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't have a reputation for this or anything. That's
I know.
probably what happened. It was a sad day.
A sad day. In my head, she sounds like Count Dracula. So she's like, I want to suck your blood, So she's like, one of your girls go crazy. Kill the others. Like that's like how she's talking. I mean, she didn't speak that way at all. It's 100%
It's
inaccurate.
amazing.
But in my head, she
That's
talks like
amazing.
that.
I
Like,
mean, we don't know how she spoke, right?
what you going to do about this? She's just like, eh. Anyway, nobody believes her. So the king agrees to start an investigation because all these nobles are knocking down his door. Girls are missing. And he assigns Count Georgi Thurzo, who is the one who oversees judicial matters. And he starts looking into it. Apparently, I don't know, he walks into the castle. To his left, a mutilated body. He hears girls screaming, torture's in progress. Pretty open and shut case.
Seems legit.
He's like, okay, we've got some problems here. But it's also said that Elizabeth tried to stop this investigation in a couple ways. Rumors are that she tried to no, she seems like that's another thing they always talk about is she seemed to just be incredibly sexual all over the place. Like, and people didn't like that. Oh, she also, I forgot to mention, she was actually a higher rank technically than her husband. And so she refused to change her name, and it pissed people off. She's like, no, I'm better than him. So I'm keeping my name. Oof.
Bye.
Anyway, so she was said to try to poison this Thurzo and the inspector and the king. And she was also said to have her witch friend like casting spells outside the castle to keep him out. Both of those failed, right? And they continue on with the investigation. But she's like, I'm going to stop this, and here's how. I'm going to either try to kill these guys or cast some spells. So the Thurzo starts gathering witness statements. And by the time he's done, he's talked to almost 300 people. And all of the stories were apparently recorded and then signed with an X because most of these people are servants and can't actually read or write.
They can't write. Yeah.
But there are really no eyewitness accounts. All of these people are, that's what I'm saying. All of these people are just saying what they've heard. Nobody has actually seen it. So they really double down on Elizabeth's team. Okay, you remember her crew?
Yeah, the crew. Dorcas.
Anna, the mean witch, has already died the year before. So she's out of the picture. She's spared from all this.
Spell gone wrong. Happens to all of us.
So they've got 3 women They've got Alana Jo, Catalin, Dorca.
Alona. Don't
God,
put me
thank
in
you.
this group.
Alona Jo. I'm sure that's even wrong. Dorca, Catalin, and then the disfigured teen manservant.
Yeah.
And they all initially deny torturing and say, hey, we just got rid of the bodies. What are you going to do? But then, of course, they're all tortured. And then they confess through being
There you
tortured.
go. How's it feel, you jackasses?
So Dorca and what's her name?
Alona.
Dorca and Alona Jo are tortured pretty severely and executed, burned, beheaded, the whole thing.
Okay.
The manservant, because he's a teenager, is just beheaded to spare him the pain.
Oh, that's nice.
Because he's saying, yeah. And Catalin is actually not executed. She's sentenced to life in prison because she was very severely beaten. And she was the only one who would try and help all these victims. She would sneak them in food and try to help them. So it was believed.
How do we know this?
I imagine that maybe the other torturers said that. That's like the most reliable thing I can think of.
Okay. Yeah.
And so it sounds like she maybe was in a situation that today would get a little bit of leniency, right? She was forced into it. She was beaten severely. She was tortured. She was forced to do these things, and then she tried to sneak them food and get them help. So she's got life in prison. They show her a little mercy. There was also an additional, like that extra witch that she had. She was also executed and brought into the mix. Bye. So Elizabeth was not subject to trial.
What are we gonna do her?
Nope.
Because she was so bad?
Because she was a noble. She was kept under house arrest in her castle.
What?
Yeah. So the fact that she was under house arrest allowed her family to take control of her estate. And the king was very concerned on how this would look for other nobles. He didn't want nobles getting the idea that they could just be taken into the court of law like any other peasant.
Yeah.
Ugh. Which is so disgusting. Yeah. Also, another thing that they factor into it is the investigator who looked into this was really good friends with Elizabeth's husband. And it was said that he promised Elizabeth's husband that he would look out for her after he died, like a deathbed promise. And it was thought that maybe this was also part of it, but I don't know. But it's pretty bad. She was bricked into a room in her castle with no windows and only a hole to pass through what she needed.
I don't think I can do that.
That's disgusting. I mean, if she really did all those things, but think of how terrible that would be.
I know. I can't.
And she had no visitors except for priests, and Thurzo himself would come and visit her. I don't know why. And he was quoted as saying, "You, Elizabeth, are like a wild animal. You do not deserve to breathe the air on earth or see the light of the Lord. You shall disappear from this world and shall never reappear in it again."
I mean, she deserves that.
Yeah. Now, on August 21st of 1614, so she was bricked up into this room for about 3 years, she tells the guard outside the hole that her hands are cold, and he tells her to just go to bed, and she does, and she never wakes up. And she dies at the age of 54. There had to be a door somewhere. How are they getting in there? I'm just thinking.
They sealed it up.
Did they have to unbrick
it? They probably blew it open, yeah. I think she should have been given to the peasants.
Well, she was buried in the cemetery, like the regular cemetery, and people were ticked. Get her out of there. She shouldn't have a proper burial. So they moved her body, and they said they moved it to the family crypt. But in 1995, the crypt was opened and her body was not there. So I don't know. Nobody knows where her body is.
Whoa.
Now, this seems pretty cut and dry, right? She seems terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are a couple alternate theories that I just want to point out. There's some conspiracy theories about this. Okay. So there's 2 other alternate theories. One is that she was such a powerful woman that there was a reason to put an end to her power. And now I guess there's also a world in which all of these things are true. You know what I mean? Like she could have tortured people and she was powerful, and they just decided to do something then. But the thought being like I
could totally see that.
She was so powerful, and maybe she didn't do all these terrible things, that they started these rumors. And they wonder because the testimony potentially was unreliable because all the witnesses had loyalty to the investigator, Thurzo, and none of them could read. So none of them know what was on those statements, and none of them are firsthand accounts, except for her own torture team, who was themselves tortured, which, as you know, you're going to say what you're going to say, so you stop being tortured. So that's brought into question. Also, her head of security said he never saw any torture, and doctors would often visit the servants, and they also said we never saw any signs of torture, which is
But
interesting.
the investigator arrived and there's a mutilated body and people screaming.
Well, that's one of the things. They don't know if it's true. So it's like there's just no real way to know, because they're saying like this would be an elaborate cover-up, right? Like they would have planted all these stories and things. And she was owed money from the crown because her and her husband had lent the crown money. And so once this happened, she no longer was allowed to be paid back. So like the debt was canceled. That's one thing. And she also politically supported her nephew, who was the Prince of Transylvania at the time, which threatened the current power. So that's one theory, that she actually wasn't this terrible, terrible person, and they spun this story and like took care of her. It seems to me like a little bit of overkill, if like that's the route you're going to go. Just like, but I'm just saying that's one. And then the second one is that she was actually a healer. And there's evidence of letters that show that she's concerned for her town's people and the conditions that they live in. And she actually intervened in some cases, one in particular being where a destitute woman was raped and became pregnant. And she intervened, which is interesting because that's probably what happened to her, right? She was raped and found herself to be pregnant. She just had the benefit of having money. So it was said that maybe she had empathy for these people and that she was actually a healer using potions and doing experiments for the sake of medicine and actually performing abortions. Now, all the documents about her were destroyed, and they were forbidden to talk about her for 100 years.
Wow.
I think she probably was torturing some folks.
Yeah.
These conspiracy theories don't seem planned. Like there's just not a lot going on it. I feel like the autopsies would have shown, I mean, you're not going to have 100 bug bites all over your body if you were there getting an abortion.
Yeah.
You're not going to be frozen into the landscape if you were there getting like some Advil.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And also the parents talking about selling their kids there and never seeing them again.
Yeah, exactly. She's like the people she picked
There's
out of the
some other
town seem
stuff.
to not come back. And so what does she do? Unless she
the
was
girl
some sort
catchers.
of weird doctor and doing experiments on the peasants thinking she was trying to like learn things. But
still not great.
Yeah. So nobody knows because they just destroyed everything about her and they never spoke of it again.
Who destroyed it? The investigators?
The investigator and the crown. Yeah, the king. Just like, get it out of here. We don't want to talk about it. It was a stain on the nobility,
Yeah.
Boot it.
Wow. That is wild.
I know. And she's thought 650 is the high number, but she was during the trial. At the trial, it was 80 people that they gave them credit for, and they think they estimate as many as 650. One servant claimed that there was a ledger that kept track, but she couldn't read, so they were like, well, how do you know that's what it did? I don't know how she knew. But yeah.
Oh my God.
That's the Blood Countess, man.
Lovely woman.
Yeah, but I would be really interested in knowing what happened because she's very smart. She's very intelligent. She was also said to be a loving mother. So it's fascinating that behind closed doors, she's just torturing these poor women.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah. And think about, 650 people is a ton because you have to imagine the population at that time. Like she has several towns. So, how many people is she taking from each little town of hers?
Oh my God.
That's a lot of women just gone.
It is. It is.
I guess if it was closer to the other number, 80 over 30 years, that accounts to the house, the slower, the secrets were leaking out because that would be harder to track. It's not like.
Right.
lots of people are dying in 1500s or 1600s. I
Yeah,
mean,
for
just
sure.
every day. And that might be, if it was a
God.
lower number, that might be easier to go unnoticed for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Take one from here and one from here.
But what I wonder is, it said that some of them, especially in the beginning, if she really was torturing or punishing, to fit the crime and then sending them back to work, wouldn't you notice? I mean, maybe that was common. Maybe that's how severe the punishments were. Like you lost a finger or you got burned if you did something
Right.
wrong. I don't know. I don't
Right.
know the standard for peasant discipline in the
I don't think it was
1600s.
great.
Yeah.
Uh, what I was thinking about the whole time was the show The Great. Have you seen it on
No.
Hulu?
No.
It's basically about Catherine the Great
Hmm.
and her coming into Russia and like taking over leadership, and it's just brutal. Like playing football with heads
Yeah.
and just like treating peasants terribly. I mean, it's a comedy and it's really well done. It's hilarious and violent and everything. But it's back then. It's like it's just a completely different way to think.
Yeah, I know. That's the
Like
thing
what
that's
they're not doing bad things.
I know, that's the
They're
thing that
just
they
serfs.
say, like, so in every article, they're like, "Hey, this is common." Like, but it's like the level of that she took it was what was weird, which is hard for us to wrap our head around it. Like, any of that seems terrible, but a lot of the stuff she was doing was like, "Yeah, that's a legitimate punishment." And then, then it just kept going. I can see how it'd be
Yeah.
easier to escalate when you're already way up here.
Oh my God.
It'd be easier to escalate and just be out of control. And it's interesting because, most of the women we talk about are straight poisoners. And she's like, nah.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
she does it all.
yeah, she's terrifying.
That is really scary. I really am most disturbed by the bites.
The bug bites?
No, her biting.
Oh, her biting. Yeah, I know. Ripping flesh off of
I can't.
shoulders,
I cannot eat. I
faces,
can't. Ugh, that's
everywhere.
disgusting.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, it's another reason she was called the Blood Countess. She had a taste for blood.
Ew. Doesn't help to be in the Transylvania area either.
Exactly. That's how. And then vampires became popular, and then she was said to be a vampire, and that's how that all gets started. Plus, she's got maybe they got the look from her, the black hair and the pale skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, do you remember that?
Wow.
We always go back to Outlander, but do you remember Outlander when Gallus is just in that tub of goat's blood or something? That's all. That's what I was thinking of while I'm reading this. Like, I can just picture Elizabeth crawling out like she does.
It's so disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously her upbringing, I mean.
Yeah, it's gonna do a number.
I mean, you're idling at terrifying. You're gonna just there's no way to go but that direction.
Yeah.
That's why I have a hard time believing the conspiracy theories, but throwing them out there because you never know. Just imagine for a second, just understand this is probably not accurate, but imagine for a second that she actually was helping women and had like a clinic in her castle, and at that time, any kind of procedure you're doing, I mean, what are the odds that it goes well? And maybe that's what was happening. Could you imagine if this whole time she was just helping women and maybe really very few people died and they just started all these stories and just wrote down what they wanted and had the servants sign an X? I mean, it's possible.
I know.
Yeah, it is possible. And then they bricked her into her castle and let her die. I mean, it's possible.
I don't want to travel back to that time to find out, but
Gosh,
can.
No. Well, you'd only be there a second before you missed a stitch and said something smart. So
I'm not a very straight sewer.
Yeah. Anyway, it just yucky. I think she probably was pretty violent, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's okay to treat peasants like that normally, like not to that level, but very poorly and discipline them in a disgusting, like really mean way. And B, like you said, their childhood of like watching your parents do this as a normal thing. It's just like, how creative can I get?
Yep. Well, that is the story of the Blood Countess.
Wow.
Goodbye,
What a
Elizabeth.
lady.
Yeah.
Goodbye. We don't know where your body is. Maybe she's a vampire.
Yeah. She could be. Still rocking it
God.
over there. I mean, her body was never found.
Imagine she's just haunting the castle.
I mean, I don't think she'd be wanted there. It's got 650 other possible ghosts.
Do people still live there?
No, it looks like like chunks of it are missing. Just
Okay.
like the stone parts. There's some stone parts.
I would never set foot near there.
I know you wouldn't. I mean, I'm not gonna make that trip either.
Not. I mean, I hear Hungary has cool forests, but I'm not going near her forests.
The wolves in this story are scary to me too. Just throwing them over the wall and the wolves get them. Here you go.
It's like in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, exactly. This is probably on Disney's radar, I'm sure.
I was thinking if anybody's covered this, like in a
if there's a
show or a movie.
Well, it is said to be the inspiration for, like female Draculas, female vampires.
Okay.
And there are movies made about it.
That makes sense.
All right. Well,
good Lord.
That's all I got for today. Icky.
I have advice.
Yeah. What are your last words for today?
Don't bite flesh out of people.
It's really sticking with you, huh?
I can't handle it. Just don't do it. It could be bad for you too. They could have some bloodborne disease and you're swallowing that because, you try to spit it all out, but I'm sure you had to swallow some of it. Oh, God.
I don't think she was trying to spit it out.
No,
I think she enjoyed it. Just saying.
That's disgusting. Don't do it, guys. Please.
I don't think anyone is.
Okay.
No,
well,
I think we're safe.
Guess you never know.
Yeah. Don't bite. I think about how hard you'd have to bite to rip skin off. I'm sorry, but like even if you get
also.
Yeah.
Have you seen Our Flag Means Death?
No.
I don't know if you'd like it. It's amazing. It's hilarious. It's a Taika Waititi show. And
what?
One of the pirate. He's a big director now. He's from New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
He did the recent Thor.
Okay, thank you.
One of the pirates has, in case they need to do cannibalism, he'll put like fake like chomper teeth in that are like made out of metal, and so that's what it reminds me of. Do that instead of using your own teeth if you have to go that path, but please don't
stop doing that. Stop making accommodations for the weird things that murderers do.
Oh, so bad.
Anyway, all right. Well, rate, like, subscribe. We've got a lot of people this week sharing our podcast, which I appreciate. Thank you so much for the support. Keep telling your friends before Alana goes into a list of weird relationships of people to tell. Just tell who you know.
Your biters.
Stop.
Your prisoners. Your torturers. Let them know. They'll appreciate it.
You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram at
Tea Time Crime.
You can email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com. Send us more story inspirations, maybe some tea ideas. We take it all.
All right. And we will talk to you next week. Thank you so much for listening.
Goodbye.
Bye. You're such a weirdo.
You're the weirdo.